So the answer is because in energy, the makif harochik is like the most expensive. It's the greatest amount of energy, except that it's distant from the person. It's outside of the person. The idea of a miracle, if you compare miracles compared to nature, when a miracle happens, we all say, wow. And those that are, have questions say, wow, oh, now I see there's a God. I believe God. Oh, this is great, and all that. Whereas the sun comes out every day, the moon and the moon, everything else, a big deal. So as far as the wow is greater in the makif. So in a makif harochik, there's more of that. That's why maybe the cost of a house is more expensive. And in other words, like this, a house is so much more valuable. It's not just, if you don't have a house, what's the use of having clothing, sleeping on the street? The Gemara says, Mishain lebayis ein ne'odam. So you must have that makif harochik. Why? So although the makif harochik is not internalized, it's not attached to me, I still need it. And I need it in the biggest and best ways, because if I don't have that, I'm nothing. In other words, someone can have all the riches in the world and have all the fancy clothing and have all the connections, and they don't have a house, they're not just not a person. Then what? They're not a person. Their whole, their inushiyut, their humanhood, their manhood, in this case their humanhood, because it applies to a woman as well, has been stripped. So what does that show? That in one sense, although the impact of a house is outside of my pnimius, my inner, but it's in a way greater. It has, and that's possibly why it costs more money. Okay, let's go to the text. V'hamozin, I want to finish. Page Yud. V'hamozin, brackets on page Yud. V'hamozin u'pchinas oyer pnimi. So the Alter Rebbe says here, mozain, food, is associated with the or pnimi. We're talking now about, Yoni, the food and garments for the neshama in Gan Eden. So he says, v'hamozin u'pchinas oyer pnimi. The mozain is inner light. V'alavushim pchinas makifim, and the garments for the soul are the makifim, the encompassing peripheral ones. And therefore, Amar Razal, the rabbis say, the sages say, Shetalmid Torah shakul keneged kol mitzvos. The study of Torah is equivalent, Avram, to all mitzvahs. So that's a very heavy statement. Why? So the Alter Rebbe says why. Lefi shahamitzvos heim levushim levad. See the word levad. Mitzvahs are only garments. They're only makif. They protect you from the cold and help you in the heat. But that's not you. It's outside of you. Like a clothing which is not you. It's on you. But it's not you. Conversely, v'ha'Torah, the study of Torah, not the mitzvah of Torah, the study of Torah, he mozain, it's food. It's internalized. Yesterday we learned the Chazal, the Pasuk says, "V'seiroscha," and your Torah, God, your Torah, b'toich me'ah is in my intestines. It's like lechem, like bread that's taken in and consumed and eaten, and it becomes your flesh, damu basar, your blood and flesh. That's an internalization. So when through the study of Torah, you create food for the neshama in Gan Eden. But the Alter Rebbe says, not only do you do that, but when you study Torah, there's an added feature, v'gam. Look at the word, v'gam. And also, the study of Torah is levush. It's also a garment, lenefesh hamaskelis, to the human, to the intellectual's drive and soul, shemeslabish ba, that invests itself in Torah, the human mind, be'iyuna, focusing deeply on what's being learned, vilimud, and it's learning. So the Alter Rebbe says that when you learn Torah, not only, the question that he's answering here is the following. I didn't tell you this. The question the Alter Rebbe is answering in this brackets is the following. We've learned now that Tfisa is for Torah mitzvahs. So what's the value of Torah over mitzvahs? In other words, the Eliyahu says, the Tfisa and the Alter Rebbe explains, it refers more specifically to Torah. So here the Alter Rebbe in the brackets is answering, wait a minute, mitzvahs has its virtue. It's the Or Makif. And Torah is the Or Pnimi. Okay, so one is Makif, one's Pnimi. The Alter Rebbe in the bracket says, wrong. Torah has both milas, both virtues. Number one, it's Or Pnimi, it's Mazon, it creates food for the soul in Gan Eden. Vigam, and also it's a levush, it's a garment to the soul that learns the Torah and creates a garment for the soul in Gan Eden. So therefore you have 2 over 1. Mitzvahs is only makif. It's only a garment. Torah is mazon and also a levush, also a garment for the seichel that invests itself in its learning. And then he says, v'choshke, needless to say, kishemoitzi bepeh b'dibur, when one utters with his mouth words of Torah, shehevel adibur, the air that emanates from the speech while learning Torah, nasa b'chinesoyer makif, it's air. It becomes a light, a makif, an encompassing light, as it says in Pri Etz Chaim. So in other words, 1 second, Hillel. In other words, when we learn Torah and we understand it, and then we articulate, so says the Gemara, or here we're learning the Tanya, and we're talking out the words of the Tanya, so there's air being emanated from this seichel that's coming from my brain into my mouth, and I'm now speaking it out. That's makif, right? Pnimi is food. I take it inside, and it becomes part of my flesh and blood. Here I'm talking about emanating air. Words coming outside to the outside, so that's makif. So the Alter Rebbe says exactly. So when you learn Torah, you have both the Or Pnimi and the Or Makif, and that's why in this Perek in Tanya, he emphasizes the greatness of learning Torah over mitzvahs as far as Tfisa is concerned, the concept of grasping. Yes, Hillel, what do you want?
I was just curious a little structurally in learning Tanya, the function of the brackets here. It seems like it's very central to the idea of this parak. It seems like it's a conclusion of the ideas of this parak. Why is it in brackets?
Okay, but...
And how is that different from the Haggaos that we have later when he emphasizes a point Kabbalistically?
Oh, so that's good. Very good question. So you said that well. The Haggaos, the remarks, or how would you call the Haggaos? There's an English word for it.
Glosses is often used.
Yeah, glosses. Thank you. Those are notes, glosses. Those are almost always very Kabbalistic. So because they're not, Tanya's Chassidus, it's not Kabbalah, and it's also totally in a way not relevant. It's not relevant to the text. You could stretch and make it relevant. In other words, we just learned this, and over there it says this and this in Kabbalah. So the Alter Rebbe says, I'll explain to you how to reconcile it or how to deal with it. But that's a tangent, usually, okay? Like in the first chapter, in the second chapter, the Alter Rebbe mentions that Hu HaYodea v'Hu HaMada, God is the knower and God is the knowing and all that. And because of Rambam, as the Rambam says, he has a Haggadah there, he has gloss there, a note there, v'Hoyde lo Chachma Kabbalah, right? And a whole pilpul. Why? Because it's not necessary to tell us that there are Mukubalim that disagree, and how am I going to reconcile it with the Maral and all of that. So it's in the Haggadah. But the Alter Rebbe wants to give you the full picture, because all kinds of people will learn Tanya. The brackets here, it is relevant to the text, but it's still a bracket. Why? Because if you were not to have the bracket, the text would still be understood, Hillel. The Alter Rebbe explains to us what the idea of tfisa is and everything else. What is he adding in the brackets? He's saying that don't walk away thinking. So right away you see that he's like, and if he wouldn't tell us don't walk away thinking, it wouldn't be the end of the world. He says don't walk away thinking that Torah and Mitzvos in this detail is on par, but rather Torah has one up because it's both Pnimius and Makif. Okay. I mean, that's the way I see it. So that's why it's not Kabbalah. It happens to be in this bracket, Hillel, it's about the souls. What are the garments of the souls in Gan Eden, and what's the food of the souls in Gan Eden? So it is talking about a metaphysical concept, Gan Eden. This bracket is not dealing about our food in this world and our garments in this world. A totally wrong pshat. It's not what it means. So it is in a way, it's like, But because he already speaks about food and mazon and levushim throughout the chapter, and he goes into great length, he feels compelled to at least put in the brackets and tell you that there is spiritually for the souls also type of food, right? Because we say that the neshamas are nen in meziva shchina. This is the Gemara, right? It's not Kabbalah. That the souls benefit from the emanation, ray of the Shechina. What does that mean? I didn't say this before, but Nenin means you have ano. So the question is, how do you have satisfaction? But the Alter Rebbe says you should know you have satisfaction because we create food, spiritual food for the souls in Gan Eden. So the soul has what to eat. The soul has satisfaction. It enjoys a good piece of fish, spiritually speaking. Who creates that? We do. How? Through learning Torah. Then you have an aspect, the soul, metaphorically speaking, is cold or it's hot. In other words, every aspect, what this points to is also another very important issue, and I'm glad you brought it up, B'chalal Hillel, is that everything in the Torah and everything in the world begins from on high. That's a shalah. Shalah HaKadosh says, HaTorah medaberes b'elyonim, the Torah speaks in the heavens, u'meramezes b'tachtonim, and it alludes to things on earth. In other words, where is the reality? B'elyonim, not b'tachtonim. We, without learning Chassidus, we think the reality is my table, my chair, my car, my bank account, my landlord, my shul. No. The Shalah says you have it all wrong. You want to know where the real McCoy is? Bo'el Yoinim. And only miramezes, it comes down and it alludes to something bitachtoinen. So the Alter Rebbe, in a way, without saying that's also kind of talking about that don't think this concept of the difference between Torah and Mitzvos, Torah being Pnimius, Mazon, Mitzvos being Makif and Levushim, it's only here on earth, the difference between doing a mitzvah, which is Makif, and learning Torah, which is Pnimius. But there is a similar concept in the spiritual worlds in Gan Eden, and what I'm adding is that's where it begins. So the more we understand about it, the better we'll understand the function of food and clothing on earth. Maybe that's an additional point. Yes, Yonis.
It is possible that the Levushim protect the neshama from being burnt up. So the Levushim, which are the mitzvahs we do down here, they become a levush neshama in Gan Eden.
Yeah.
And they protect us from all, from into the life of Hashem to burn us up.
Yeah. Thank you. That's the simple pshat. Yeah. That what Yonis said is very important. Thank you. I meant to say it as I prepared the shir and I forgot that the idea of the levushim, the pashtus in Gan Eden is Because there's the infinite light of Hashem, and it can burn us up. That's why it says, we're only nene Avram miziva Shechina, for an emanation of the Shechina. Because and so what protects us that the infinite light shouldn't consume us, quote, burn us up? The levushim. Chevra, have a great day. We'll see everyone tomorrow. Zay gesund. Enjoy. Bye-bye.